You're standing in front of a mirror, looking at a person who is haunted by the ghost of who they were supposed to be by now. You have a list. Maybe it's in a leather-bound journal. Maybe it's a mental loop that plays every Sunday night when the dread kicks in. You call them goals. You want to lose the weight. You want to start the business. You want to be better. But let's be honest, because no one else will be. Those aren't goals. They're decorations. They are the pretty curtains you've hung up to hide the fact that your house is empty. You've been told that having a vision is the first step to success. That's a lie designed to keep you sedate. While you're busy manifesting and visualizing, the world is moving, and it is moving right over the top of you. This is the exact moment the Machiavellian method demands you stop dreaming and start looking at the wreckage. Think about the last time you told someone about your big plans. You felt a little rush, didn't you? A hit of dopamine just for describing a version of you that doesn't exist yet. You haven't done the work, you haven't earned the result, but you've already cashed the emotional check. That is the trap of modern goal setting. It allows you to feel the pride of a winner while you're still sitting on the couch. Machiavelli didn't care about your feelings, and he certainly didn't care about your intentions. He cared about the state of the city-state. He cared about the security of the borders. He cared about the treasury. If he saw your goals, he would laugh, because a prince who hopes to defend his city is a prince who is about to be executed. You say you want to provide for your family. That sounds noble. But look at your bank account. Look at your daily schedule. If an objective observer, an enemy looking for a weakness, looked at how you spent your last 48 hours, would they see a man building a fortress to protect his bloodline? Or would they see a man distracted by trivialities, chasing goals that have no teeth? This is exactly how the Machiavellian method exposes the fraudulence of the modern dreamer. You've been playing a game of pretend. You've treated your life like a hobby when it is actually a war of attrition. Your family is not a motivation to be put on a vision board. They are a responsibility that you are currently failing to fully secure. Stop thinking about what you want. Wanting is for children. It's passive. It's weak. The Machiavellian method replaces the soft, rounded edges of goals with the jagged, lethal reality of priorities. A priority isn't something you'd like to do. It's something that, if left undone, results in your collapse. If you don't earn, you don't eat. If you don't lead, you are led. If you don't win, you lose. There is no middle ground. There is no, I tried my best in the prince's court. There is only the objective reality of the result. You need to feel the weight of that. You need to feel the cold, hard floor of the room where your potential went to die, because only then will you be disgusted enough to do what is necessary. This isn't about self-help. This is about survival. This is about the realization that every day you spend chasing a goal is a day you aren't securing a priority, and the clock is ticking. You're caught in a loop of micro-failures that you've rebranded as learning experiences. Let's look at the pattern, because the Machiavellian method isn't interested in your excuses, only your habits. You wake up with a burst of inspiration. You write down a new set of targets. You buy the equipment, the books, or the software. For 3 days, you are a lion. On the 4th day, it rains. On the 5th day, you're tired. By the 2nd week, that goal has become a source of guilt. So you tuck it away in a drawer and wait for the next new year or the next Monday to start the cycle over. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method identifies a servant, not a prince. A servant is ruled by his moods. A prince is ruled by his necessities. Look at your screen time. Look at the hours you spent researching instead of executing. You tell yourself you're preparing, but Machiavelli would tell you that you're actually retreating. You're building a wall of information to protect yourself from the terrifying reality of action. You say you need to earn respect, but then you spend your evening arguing with strangers on the internet or seeking the cheap, hollow approval of people who don't even know your middle name. You are trading your crown for crumbs. Every time you choose the easy distraction over the difficult priority, you are training your brain to see you as a loser. You are teaching yourself that your word means nothing. Take your physical health. You've had the goal to get in shape for years. You've seen the images of the man you want to be, strong, disciplined, capable. But when the alarm goes off, the goal isn't there to pull you out of bed. Only a priority can do that. Because a goal is an option, but a priority is a debt. If you don't pay it, the interest compounds. Your health isn't about looking good in a mirror. It is the physical vessel of your power. If you are weak, you are easily conquered. If you lack stamina, your mind will quit long before your competition does. This pattern of neglect isn't just a bad habit. It's a strategic vulnerability. You think you're being balanced when you take a night off from your business or your studies to relax. But look closer. Are you relaxing, or are you escaping? There is a difference between a soldier resting in the barracks and a deserter hiding in the woods. When you prioritize your comfort over your family's security, you are signaling to the world that your bloodline is not worth the sacrifice. This is the exact moment the Machiavellian method forces you to see the pattern of the victim. You have become a victim of your own mercy. You are too kind to your own weaknesses, and as a result, the world will be cruel to you. The cycle repeats because you haven't yet realized that your goals are the very things keeping you from your priorities. You are so busy looking at the horizon that you don't see the water filling up your boat. Stop looking at the sunset. Start plugging the holes. This is the only way to break the pattern of a man who is destined to be forgotten. Everything you've been told about success is a lullaby. It's designed to keep you dreaming while the predators are eating. You think that because you have a vision, you're on the right track. But the Machiavellian method demands a gut-punch realization. Having a goal without a priority is just a sophisticated way of lying to yourself. We live in a culture that rewards the feeling of ambition rather than the reality of power. You've been sedated by the someday myth. This is exactly what the Machiavellian method means when it separates the masters from the masses. The masses have goals. The masters have non-negotiable requirements. Let's look at the anatomy of your failure. Why does the pattern repeat? Why do you find yourself back at zero every few months? It's because your goals are external, but your priorities are hidden in the shadow. You say your goal is to be successful, but your actual, practiced priority is remaining comfortable. When those two go to war, comfort wins every single time. You aren't failing because you lack discipline. You're failing because your hierarchy of values is a mess. You've prioritized the avoidance of pain over the acquisition of territory. In the prince's world, that's called an invitation to be invaded. This keeps repeating because you view your family's future or financial freedom as a luxury to be earned later rather than a fire to be put out right now. Imagine your house is on fire. You don't have a goal to put out the flames. You don't visualize a house that isn't burning. You move. You act with a singular, violent focus because the consequence of inaction is total destruction. That is a priority. Now, look at your bank account. Look at the level of respect you command in your own home. Look at your physical capability. If these things aren't where they need to be, your house is effectively on fire. You've just been ignoring the smoke because you're too busy staring at a vision board. This is the uncomfortable truth. You have been using your goals as a shield to protect you from the responsibility of your priorities. It's easier to say, "I'm working on a 5-year plan," than to admit, "I am currently failing to provide the life my family deserves." One makes you a visionary, the other makes you a failure. Machiavelli would tell you to embrace the title of failure, because only a man who admits he is losing will fight with the ferocity required to win. You need to stop treating your life like a rehearsal. There is no second performance. The people who depend on you don't need your goals. They need your results. They need the security that only comes when you stop chasing the horizon and start dominating the ground beneath your feet. The realization is simple, and it should hurt. If it isn't a priority, it's just a hobby. And hobbies don't build empires. To understand why your current approach is failing, we have to look at what Machiavelli called virtue. In the modern world, we've mistranslated this to mean virtue, or being a good person. But for the prince, virtue had nothing to do with being nice. It meant effectiveness. It meant the ability to bend fortune to your will through sheer, unadulterated competence. It is the psychological foundation of the provider. While you are busy trying to be liked or balanced, the man of virtue is busy being necessary. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method operates. It transforms your soft desire for success into a hard, cold survival instinct. Consider the dynamic of a bridge. A bridge doesn't have a goal to hold up cars. It has a structural necessity to do so, or it ceases to be a bridge and becomes a pile of rubble. You have treated your role as a father, a son, or a leader as a series of goals you'll get to when the weather is nice. The psychological reality is that you are the bridge for your family. If you are weak, they fall. If you are broke, they suffer. If you are a coward, they have no shield. Machiavelli argued that it is much safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. In a domestic sense, this doesn't mean your family should tremble at your presence. It means they should be able to rely on the fear that your absence or failure would be the greatest catastrophe they could imagine. Your strength must be so absolute that it creates a perimeter of safety. This mechanism operates on a level of strategic necessity. When you shift from goals to priorities, you are engaging the part of the brain that handles crisis. We are evolutionarily designed to solve immediate threats, not abstract, 5-year plans. By framing your earning potential as a priority for family survival rather than a goal for a better lifestyle, you bypass the procrastination centers of your mind. You aren't working hard anymore. You are defending the tribe. The theory is simple. Man is a creature of interest. If you make your success in your own interest and the interest of those you love a matter of life and death, your laziness will vanish overnight. What this means for you is a total rejection of the hustle culture nonsense that tells you to find your passion. Passion is a fickle mistress. Machiavelli didn't talk about passion, he talked about prowess. Prowess is the result of focused, repetitive, and often boring execution of priorities. It's the result of knowing that if you don't earn that respect, if you don't build that wealth, you are essentially a ghost in your own home. You become a background character in the lives of the people who were supposed to look up to you. Translate the theory into your visceral reality. Every time you choose a soft goal over a hard priority, you are surrendering your virtue. You are letting fortune, the unpredictable, often cruel whims of the world, take the wheel. And fortune loves to crush those who have no foundation of their own. You're vulnerable to these soft, feel-good goals because they serve a hidden purpose. They are a sedative for your conscience. Every time you write down a vision for a better life without taking the immediate, painful step toward it, you are performing a psychological exorcism. You are casting out the demon of your own inadequacy by making a promise you don't intend to keep. This is the shadow truth you don't want to hear. You actually enjoy the state of becoming. As long as you are trying, no one can technically call you a failure. As long as you are on a journey, you're protected from the final judgment of results. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method exposes your complicity in your own stagnation. You fall for the hustle aesthetics because they allow you to play-act the role of a provider without the crushing weight of actually providing. You buy the books, you follow the grind accounts, and you wear the exhaustion like a badge of honor. But let's look at what you're getting from it. You're getting the social credit of being an ambitious person while avoiding the terrifying risk of actually putting your name on a finished product. If you never truly commit to a priority, like securing your family's wealth, you can never truly fail. You can just say you're still working on it. You are addicted to the safety of the starting line. Your susceptibility comes from a deep-seated fear of your own power. If you actually acknowledge that earning respect and protecting your family were non-negotiable priorities, you would have to sacrifice your hobbies, your comfort, and your ego. You would have to be the man who says no to the party because the treasury is low. You would have to be the man who stays up to. Study the market while everyone else is sleeping because the borders of your empire are weak. That's a lonely life. It's a heavy life. So, instead, you choose the goal of finding balance. It sounds healthier, doesn't it? It sounds more evolved. But balance is often just a code word for mediocrity, used by those who are afraid to see what they are truly capable of when they are pushed to the brink. This is exactly how the goal-setting trap operates in your situation. It keeps you in a state of perpetual preparation. You are like a soldier who spends 40 years cleaning his rifle but never fires a shot because he's waiting for the perfect conditions. Machiavelli would tell you that there are no perfect conditions. There is only the reality of the terrain and the necessity of the objective. Your role as a provider is not a goal you achieve once and then relax. It is a constant state of siege. If you aren't gaining ground, you are losing it. You fall for the soft goals because they tell you that good enough is okay. But for the people who rely on you, good enough is a dangerous gamble they never agreed to take. You aren't being kind to them by being balanced. You are being selfish by being soft. Let's look at the first facet of your specific dynamic, the financial bastion. Most people treat money as a goal for luxury, a faster car, a bigger house, a more impressive watch. But the Machiavellian method views money through a much darker, more honest lens. To a prince, money is not for pleasure. It is for autonomy and defense. We'll call this the sovereign's treasury. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method operates. It strips away the greed and replaces it with the cold necessity of power. If you don't have a surplus of capital, you don't have a choice. And if you don't have a choice, you are a subject, not a ruler. Think about your current financial state. If you lost your primary income tomorrow, how long before your family's lifestyle begins to crumble? A month? 3 months? That gap between today and ruin is the measure of your failure as a provider. You've been chasing the goal of a 6-figure salary, but you haven't secured the priority of liquidity. You are living in a castle made of cardboard, praying it doesn't rain. Machiavelli noted that a prince must always be prepared for the storm during the calm. While you are celebrating a small bonus or a modest raise, the world is calculating how to take it back from you through inflation, taxes, or competition. Consider the dopamine slot machine of modern consumerism. You get a little extra cash, and you immediately spend it on something that signals success to people you don't even like. You're buying the appearance of a priority while sacrificing the reality of it. You're trading your family's long-term security for the short-term high of a new gadget. That's not being a provider. That's being a victim of marketing. A real provider treats every dollar like a soldier. You don't send your soldiers out to be slaughtered on the battlefield of lifestyle creep. You station them at the walls. You invest them in assets that produce more soldiers. You build a treasury so vast that no economic shift can touch the people under your protection. See how this angle operates in your daily life. Every time you buy something you don't need, you are literally selling a piece of your family's future freedom. You are telling your children that a new television is more important than the peace of mind that comes from a paid-off home or a diversified portfolio. This is exactly why the Machiavellian method is so uncomfortable. It forces you to see your spending habits as strategic betrayals. It's not about budgeting. It's about resource dominance. You need to earn not because you want to be rich, but because you refuse to be vulnerable. You need to earn because in a world that respects nothing but strength, wealth is the ultimate armor. If you haven't made financial dominance your absolute priority, you aren't protecting your family. You're just keeping them warm until the fire goes out. The second lens we must apply is what I call the bloodline imperative. In the modern world, we've been conditioned to view family as a support system, a soft, fuzzy background to our individual journey. But the Machiavellian method views family as an extension of the state. Your household is a dynasty in its infancy, and you are its architect. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method operates. It replaces the goal of spending quality time with the priority of cultivating allegiance and excellence. If your children grow up to be weak, or if your spouse does not respect your leadership, your empire has failed before it even started. Look at the micro moments in your home. When you walk through the door, what is the energy? Is it the relief of a family seeing their protector, or is it the indifference of a group seeing a man who just provides the Wi-Fi password? You've had the goal of being a good dad or a present husband, but you haven't made it a priority to be a figure of authority. Machiavelli warned that he who is the cause of another becoming powerful is the ruin of himself. In a domestic sense, if you allow your family to become powerful in their own right, disciplined, capable, and resilient, you have succeeded. If you keep them soft and dependent because it makes you feel needed, you are a tyrant, not a leader. Consider the abundance trap. You want to give your family everything you didn't have. You want them to be comfortable. But as any strategist knows, abundance destroys value. By removing the struggle, you are removing the very thing that builds the virtue they will need to survive when you are gone. This is exactly why the Machiavellian method is so counterintuitive. Your priority isn't to make their lives easy. It is to make them formidable. You are not a provider of toys. You are a provider of character. If you prioritize their comfort over their competence, you are effectively disarming your own soldiers. See how this angle operates in your interactions. When your child fails, do you rush in to save them, or do you stand back and guide them through the fire? When your spouse challenges your direction, do you fold to keep the peace, or do you lead with a conviction that commands respect? This isn't about being a dark or abusive figure. It's about being the standard. If you are inconsistent, if you are lazy, If you are easily distracted by your goals while the foundation of your home is rotting, you are teaching them that mediocrity is the family crest. You aren't just failing at a goal. You are poisoning the bloodline. You must realize that your family's respect is not a gift. It is a tax you must earn every single day through the weight of your actions. If you aren't the most disciplined person in the house, you aren't the leader. You're just the one paying the mortgage. The third lens is the most haunting because it is the one you cannot buy, manifest, or fake: the shadow of reputation. You've been chasing the goal of being liked, of being the nice guy who everyone finds approachable. But the Machiavellian method demands you look at the cold reality of respect over recognition. Recognition is what people say to your face. Respect is what they feel in their gut when you walk out of the room. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method operates. It forces you to realize that if you aren't feared for your competence, your kindness is seen as a permission slip for others to walk over you. Think about your professional circle or your social group. When a difficult decision needs to be made, or when the pressure is at its peak, do people look to you? Or are you the one looking for someone else to tell you what to do? You've had the goal of networking, of building a brand, but you haven't made it a priority to be irreplaceable. In the prince's world, the most dangerous position is to be useful but common. If anyone can do what you do, no one owes you anything. You are a commodity, and commodities are traded, depreciated, and eventually discarded. This is exactly why the Machiavellian method is so ruthless about your skill set. You don't need more connections. You need more leverage. Consider the approval addiction. You spend your energy trying to ensure no one is offended by you. You hedge your words. You apologize for your priorities as if they are inconveniences to others. Sorry, I can't come out tonight. I have to work on my business. Stop. Why are you apologizing for building a fortress? Every time you apologize for your ambition, you are bleeding respect. You are telling the world that your mission is subordinate to their social schedule. Machiavelli noted that men are more likely to harm someone they love than someone they fear. If your reputation is built solely on niceness, you are the first person people will betray when things get tight, because they know there is no price to pay for crossing you. See how this operates in your daily life. When you speak, do people interrupt you? When you set a boundary, do they ignore it? If the answer is yes, it's because you have prioritized harmony over stature. You have allowed yourself to become a soft target. This is exactly why the Machiavellian method insists on the priority of presence. You must become the man who is so disciplined, so financially secure, and so committed to his bloodline that your very presence demands a higher level of conduct from those around you. You don't get respect by asking for it. You get it by becoming a person who clearly doesn't need it. The moment you stop caring about being recognized as a success and start focusing on the priority of being a person of undeniable weight, the world's behavior toward you will shift. Until then, you are just a nice guy with a list of goals that no one takes seriously. Now we turn the lens inward, and this is the part where you'll want to look away. We have to talk about your complicity. You like to blame the economy, your boss, your upbringing, or the lack of time for why your life hasn't changed. But the Machiavellian method strips away the victim's cloak to reveal the truth. You are choosing this. You are the one choosing the comfort of the goal over the pain of the priority. This is the mirror turn. The moment you realize that the person keeping you small isn't an enemy at the gate, but the man looking back at you in the mirror. Why do you keep choosing this cycle? Because it's safe. There is a shadow participation in your own failure. If you actually became the powerful provider you claim to want to be, you would lose the right to complain. You would lose your excuses. You would be held to a standard that doesn't allow for off days or moods. By staying in the realm of goals, you get to keep your mediocrity and your self-pity. You've traded your potential for the right to feel like a misunderstood protagonist. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method confronts your cowardice. You call it burnout. Machiavelli would call it a lack of virtue. You call it needing a break. He would call it a surrender of territory. Look at the future you are currently building. Not the one in your head, the one your current actions are projecting. If you continue to treat your family's security as a someday goal, you are effectively scheduling their future suffering. You are writing the script where your children have to work twice as hard because you were too lazy to build the foundation. You are preparing a retirement for yourself that is defined by making do rather than commanding. Paint that picture in your mind. The gray, stagnant air of a life where you realize too late that you were the one who held the keys to the cell. This is the uncomfortable truth. You have been using your niceness and your intentions as a bribe to get the world to leave you alone. You think that because you mean well, you shouldn't be judged for your lack of results. Wrong. In the real world, the world of power and provision, meaning well is the consolation prize of the loser. This is exactly why the Machiavellian method demands you see your role in this. Why do you keep choosing people who use you? Why do you keep choosing tasks that don't move the needle? Because deep down, you're afraid of the responsibility that comes with being a winner. You are hiding in the struggle because you're terrified of the success. Stop lying to yourself. You aren't stuck. You are committed to the safety of being a nice guy with big dreams. The question is, are you ready to kill that version of yourself to let the prince be born? We have reached the end of the narrative, and the doors of the court are closing. You are now faced with the binary choice, the only thing Machiavelli truly respects. You can walk away from this moment and return to your goals. You can go back to the leather-bound journals, the vision boards, and the soft, comforting lie that you are trying. You can stay in the pattern of the victim, the man who is perpetually almost there, the man who is too nice to be successful. If you choose this, prepare for the consequences. Prepare for the day your children look at you not with admiration, but with the quiet, devastating realization that you were a man of words, not weight. Make it disgusting. See yourself as a hollow shell, a provider who provided nothing but excuses. Or you can choose option B, the Machiavellian pivot. You can decide, here and now, that your goals are dead and your priorities are the only things that exist. This requires an immediate, violent shift in your behavior. It means that from this second forward, every action is interrogated. Does this secure the treasury? Does this defend the bloodline? Does this build the fortress? If the answer is no, the action is discarded. This isn't a habit change. It's a structural renovation of your soul. This is the exact moment the Machiavellian method demands urgency. You don't have another year. You don't have another month. The storm Machiavelli warned about is already on the horizon. The specific actions this topic requires are cold and clear. First, audit your life for soft targets. Any activity that gives you the feeling of success without the result of power must be cut out. Second, define your sovereign number, the exact amount of wealth and influence required to make your family untouchable. That is not a goal. It is a debt you owe to your bloodline. Third, embrace the villain of your own story. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. If you are doing your job as a provider and a leader, you will be resented by the lazy and the weak. Wear that resentment like armor. It is the proof that you are finally moving. The final truth that summarizes everything you've heard is this: the world does not care about your potential. It only cares about what you can protect, what you can provide, and what you can command. You have been playing a child's game in a world that is built for men of virtue. This is exactly how the Machiavellian method concludes, by handing you the crown and the sword, but warning you that the weight will be more than you ever imagined. You can be the nice guy who died with a list of dreams, or you can be the prince who left behind an empire. The choice is yours. But remember, by not choosing, you have already chosen option A. Stop dreaming. Start securing. The intervention is over. Now, the execution begins.